as somebody playing, the Nintendo Switch is crap. Let me turn on that camera. Let's see, display capture, video capture device. Oh wow, that's kind of shit. So yeah, yeah. But yeah, there's the Nintendo Switch, and you can't see worth dick on it. I got to figure out a way to actually stream that to OBS and everything to see if you can actually plug it in so it will display my actual Switch. But I've been playing, not that sophisticated. The thing is that we're presumed to give a rat's ass as gamers about graphics and everything. We're told, that this is our obsession, but like I revealed, the truth of gaming is right there in the fifth generation of gaming and everything, and how the market responded to events on the ground, and the battle between the Sony PlayStation and the original and the N64. That reveals the truth about how gamers really feel about graphics, you know, and everything. If you are like legitimately into video games, that's basically your take on it. It was really impressive to see the jump from a purely 2D gaming experience to a 3D one, and then what that did to RPGs and everything, and then the jump from just being the deformed pixels of the original Final Fantasy VII to what that eventually turned into, and everything was also a bit of a jump, although not as dramatic of one in terms of graphics and everything. But after that point, it just graphics turned into this whole system of diminishing returns where they just keep piling pixel after pixel after pixel on top of things, and yet the human eye can't even pick up on it. It doesn't even notice it and everything. After a certain point of cramming so many pixels into something, it starts to become a very diminishing battle of returns and everything. And so many of us are having the exact same reaction to things where we're in this era where there's this whole thing for retro gaming. I mean, a lot of us are now going over and exploring the world of pen and paper, as well, RPGs and everything. I mean, this is me with respect to Octopath Traveler 1 and 2. This is exactly what I did. I looked at the AAA titles and thought gross, and went over to Octopath Traveler. I mean, I just completely was like, fuck that, and everything, and it is me too. I mean, but of course it's a laptop and it's 2,100 roughly, just to cover up the cost above 2,000. For this system, it's an Asus TUF gaming laptop, an A16 that's got 64 gigabytes of RAM and everything, and 5070 card. I did hear that DLSS was fake frames, but I'm like, I don't care. You can turn it off anyways. It's not a mandatory setting and everything. But they're like, oh, it's only faster because of the fact that it uses fake frames. And I'm like, because newer hardware was a little bit faster anyways than the 4070 would be. So, anyways, yeah. I'm growing an Asus. I'm sporting an Asus A16 at this point, but it's definitely more powerful than the standard unit. It's got the 64 gigabytes of RAM and everything, and a 5070, so it's a little bit stronger than a normal Asus TUF laptop. Now I've only really run into one problem with it, and I can't really put that on Asus's lap. It's Asus isn't responsible for this one, but to run upscaling the videos that I watch to the absolute max upscaling, it would be more appropriate to use a 5090. But you know, shit, man, the cost of those things, just yeah, not very many people, not a very inclusive card to say the least, and everything. At least the 5070 was doable.